Listeners, when you think about luxury, what do you think about? Do you think about a handbag, a sports car? What if I were to tell you that true luxury goes much deeper than that? Today, we are going to talk about luxury and what that means for you and your lifestyle and your well-being. Welcome back to the Space to Be Well. I'm Michele Pelafas, and I'm with my co-host, Valerie Putman.
Hello.
And we are in our first season of the Space to Be Well. And if you missed it, listeners, the first half of the season, we talked about the resonant framework as it relates to creating wellness in the built environments, whether it's your home or your business. It's so important. If you missed it, please go back and listen. But we're going to continue on this journey, and we're going to shift gears ever so slightly, but not too much, because we're still on the topic of wellness design, understanding wellness design, and how this really impacts our life. And we're going to be touching on the principles of wellness design in the next few episodes. And today we are going to be talking about the big L.
Should we let them know what that is?
The big L.
Luxury.
Yes, listeners, luxury helps us to create well-being in the environments that we're creating. And so this is a topic that is something that can be a little bit misunderstood sometimes. So if you're hearing the word luxury, many times we associate that with a price tag. And that's true. Luxury can sometimes be not quite as, it's not inexpensive because luxury is all about something unique and different. And so we need to better understand why luxury matters in the wellness environments that we create. And by the way, these principles that we're talking about are principles that we use in our environments every single day. And luxury is an important one. Our customers ask us for the element of luxury. And if they don't, it's still something that we incorporate into our design, sort of behind the scenes, because luxury may not be exactly what you think it is.
I love that. Yeah, I think today our version of luxury really, it's really meant to be felt luxury. And it's really about care and the connection, the quality. And so I think it's through luxury that we actually have this ability to take design and continue to elevate it, especially in the wellness space, because at the end of the day, isn't wellness, really about caring for ourselves in the best way possible, So I think we have a lot to talk about today with luxury.
Exactly. And I think there's that sort of connection to, there's a big if when it comes to luxury, right? So a lot of people associate luxury with a luxury handbag or a luxury car or a luxury trip or experience. But what makes luxury true luxury, and the way we bring this to enhancing our well-being, is through meaningful luxury experiences, meaningful luxury investments, livable luxury. That's something we're going to talk about in detail, is livable luxury. And when you approach luxury from that regard, especially in the environments that we're creating and living in, then you can have true transformation. So listeners, I think there's a lot to unpack here. And I think what we need to start with is, what is the definition of luxury as we understand luxury?
Well, I think for us, it's really about, this, you kind of already mentioned it a little bit, about kind of this unique, one-of-a-kind experience, about the customization. But all of those kind of details, those kind of micro moments kind of come together and really yield us the result of what luxury really is. And it's seen and it's felt, and it's through those unique experiences that we can create with the built environment and your sensory experiences and all of that come together that really are going to kind of take us on a journey and, help us kind of live our best version of ourselves. So, Michele, let's take a little journey here, in a test of kind of what luxury really is.
Let's do that.
Okay, let's do it. So let's pretend that it's a sunny Saturday and you decide, I'm going to go take a walk in the park down the street.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. Are you picturing it? And you're walking around this lovely park. All the flowers are in bloom. The birds are singing. The sun is shining. You look up and you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm here experiencing this today. It's such a lovely day. Would you call that a luxury experience?
I would say that would be an amazing experience. And I love the idea of a beautiful walk in the park on a beautiful day. The sun is out, flowers blooming. I don't know that I would consider that a luxury experience. I would consider that a lovely experience. And that's something that I would esteem to do as often as I could. And I think what would define it not quite as luxury as I think anybody can take a walk in a nice park and
true
and experience the flowers and while it's a beautiful experience, I don't know that I would define that necessarily as luxury.
Okay, so what if
it's challenging?
Yeah, what if we now, let's say, all of a sudden a horse-drawn carriage shows up in the park, and instead of walking, there's a red carpet that's rolled out in front of you, and you can now take this horse-drawn carriage and walk. And instead of walking, you are, driven around the park. You're elevated. Maybe they offer you a beverage of your choice while you're sitting there relaxing, enjoying the same sun and the flowers and the birds. Does that create a true luxury experience?
Let's see. I would consider that to be a more elevated, lovely experience. I think it's definitely getting closer to this idea of luxury, but I think it would depend. I think what would depend to me whether or not that was a luxury experience is if everybody could get in that horse-drawn carriage and there was a line behind me of, 20 people and, kids running around and, everybody taking turns getting on that carriage ride. I would say probably still wouldn't be defined as luxury for me. I think that for me, I would want to have an exclusive ride with, a driver who has a, top coat and hat on, bottle of fine champagne. And it's sort of a one-of-a-kind experience. And not everybody could experience that. And maybe even I would be doing that with somebody special, somebody who's with me, and I would be sharing that experience with somebody else. I think then I would lean more towards that being a luxury experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really great. Some of the things that you're saying about it being a little bit more exclusive, a little bit more, intimate with, fostering connection with someone and,
exactly.
Just really like how special, something like that would make you feel and comforted. And I think, again, that's just kind of bringing to me the full circle meaning of really what the true luxury is, that in that moment that you felt very cared for, you felt very comforted, and you're able to just be at ease and enjoy. And
I agree. I like to think along the lines of handbags when it comes to luxury, as is an example. As you know, a couple of years ago, I purchased a Prada handbag, and it was, not an inexpensive purchase. I'm very thoughtful thoughtful about the purchases that I make. What's important to me when I make these purchases is number one, am I going to use this bag? Is this something that's going to fit with my lifestyle? Am I going to use it? Is it good quality? There's a lot that goes into decision making when I make a purchase. And this is something that is going to be very important to our listeners as they think about their investments in their businesses and in their homes when it comes to luxury pieces. And so I think we have to look at luxury. There's one aspect of luxury where it is all about an investment. I know people who invest in luxury cars, for example, and they don't drive the cars, which, is that true luxury? Not necessarily. I think they're investing in luxury cars and they don't drive them because they want to yield a return on the investment. It's a car and it's accumulating in value. And most likely, if they're not driving them and they're collecting them, they're one of a kind, potentially rare. And so I think that is one aspect of luxury. If you're using it to yield a very specific return on the investment and you enjoy it, maybe you have a garage that's an all glass garage and everybody can see your collection. So now you're feeling pretty seen and understood, right? And I think that goes to our self-esteem. I'm coming back now to the handbag. And, all these years later, I'll be honest, that handbag makes me happy when I carry it. I don't see anybody else with that same handbag. It's more rare. It's unique. I live with it. It's part of my lifestyle. And that to me defines true luxury. Can I even go on
Please.
Let's even go as far as to talk about other luxury handbag collections that I'm aware of that to me are more of a dime a dozen. And everybody carries this particular brand of handbag. I don't really see that as luxury. I see that as a brand attraction, sort of making a statement based on a brand. But I tend to look at luxury as something that's more unique, something that everybody doesn't have. When I make a purchase and listeners, this is what you need to be thinking about. And we're going to get into more detail with your businesses and your homes, that you're investing in something that is really going to be meaningful to you, that you're going to use, and maybe something that's unique and different. And that's really going to set you apart. And that really lends itself to your self-esteem, feeling like it's uplifting. It's uplifting to have something that's unique because it's tailored to you. Yeah. It's tailored to your lifestyle. And that to me is the epitome of luxury. Valerie, many of our business owners, when they come to us and they're opening their businesses, they tell us that they want the space to feel luxurious. And I think to most of our business owners, they're thinking along the lines of something a little opulent or the use of luxury materials and finishes. But a lot of our business owners don't have the budget to go full on luxury. So I think we are always trying to balance this idea of helping them use their head and their heart in their decisions.
Absolutely.
And we have to use, and here's why the head is so important when it comes to luxury. The head is so important because luxury generally is associated with money. The more rare, the more unique, the more, usually the more money it costs. And so we're always trying to help our clients balance that. In order to open a business, you need to yield a return on your investment. And not all of our clients have unlimited budgets. So we help them to decide on that. Now, there's a ways to create a look and feel of luxury. We don't have to do full on quartz or real marble on countertops to get a marble look. Today, there are so many plastic laminates and finishes and materials to achieve the look of luxury. So that's one thing, right?
Yeah.
To achieve the look of luxury, there's many ways to go about doing that. And we help our clients make those decisions every day. But sometimes there's that one or two key pieces that they're considering that will really elevate the space. And there's no two ways about it. In order to accomplish this, they're going to pay a little bit more money. And so it's really looking then to the heart. And when we move to the heart, we're looking at, is this a good decision? Is this going to yield a good return on the investment? Is it meaningful? Does it mean something? Does it represent your brand? If it's for your home, is this something that you're going to look at every single day? Is it going to stand the test of time? In 10 years from now, are you going to love that piece? And so now you're using your heart in making those decisions, but you have to use both. Don't you agree?
Oh, definitely. Sometimes the heart wants what the heart wants, but but the bank doesn't have the funds to kind of match or meet that. But I think it's, that's such a great way to kind of explain the head and the heart, and finding a way that you can still kind of have both. Like you can find a way to kind of marry the idea of still getting something that you really love and that's really going to be something meaningful and lasting to you. But you can find ways to balance that, offset the cost by selecting some other things or making other decisions that are going to yield still a great result. And at the end of the day, it still comes together as a amazing
Exactly.
design.
I think that listeners, that's one of the biggest takeaways. A lot of people want that look of luxury. And so that doesn't mean necessarily that you have to spend a lot of money to get the look of luxury. There's so many creative ways to go about doing that. But at the same time, you can also consider those investment luxury pieces. It's all about potentially, especially if you're on a budget, less is more. And so it's about investing in one or two key pieces and maybe even building on that to yield the end result. Yeah,
Absolutely. I remember this one particular project that we worked on, pretty recently. It was in New York. I know you're familiar with the one that I'm talking about, but for her, there was this beautiful mosaic tile wall that it's just out of this world, just gorgeous. And it's not just even like an 8-foot high wall. No, this is, floor to ceiling,
10, 12 foot.
Yeah, exactly. With handmade Italian tiles that created this really beautiful mosaic. And like I think you were starting to mention, that with this investment in this piece, this is something that really set her brand apart and was really going to make a statement, give that wow when you first walk in the door. And so I think everybody can find that kind of moment of that item, that area of something that you can really just make your own and really align with your identity and invest in it.
Exactly. And she uses it all the time, right? So she has so many photo ops in front of there and Instagram moments. And anytime anybody sees that wall, it's identifiable. It absolutely is her brand.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's a great example. And then there, of course, was the unbelievable chandelier in that one as well, that they spared no expense.
Yeah.
But really, and I think that's a perfect example. There were two key items within the whole project. It was a little bit higher end project altogether, but there were only two key items where they really splurged. And that was that mosaic wall and that beautiful chandelier. And I think that's the word, we're using the word splurge, but you want to be careful about splurging. That's where you want to use your head and your heart. We have that other example of the business owner that wanted the very, very expensive doors in their space.
Yeah.
And we helped her to use her head and helping to understand that it probably is not a wise investment, not going to yield a return. And it really was her heart truly in it. I mean, if she could be persuaded out of that, and yes, listeners, we do talk our clients out of these things because it's important to the end result. I think that that was a really great sort of example of guiding our customers to yield the best return on the investment and really balancing your head and your heart when it comes to splurges, which are most likely and usually, especially in an interior, associated with luxury purchases.
Absolutely. Can I also say that I might be biased here, but I feel like, this is truly, if you're not working with a designer, I would say you definitely should be, and you should find one that can be aligned with, your thinking and your identity and all the things that we've been talking about. And I think one thing, as Michele just mentioned, is that we really focus on trying to find that balance for people, of finding that balance for luxury, for quality, for all the different parts and pieces that go into the project. And so I definitely recommend that if you aren't working with a designer and you have a project in mind, it's a wise decision. I think an investment well spent.
Yes. And it really is about being practical.
Yeah.
I think that's an important way to look at it. We're talking about using your head, but it's also about being practical. Yeah. And practical comes down to money. It comes down to wearability. It comes down to just being able to ease and the use of the space. And at the end of the day, we're talking about wellness. We're talking about well-being. We're talking about how we as human beings experience space. And so if you want that big, beautiful chandelier and it's going to light up your life every single time you look at it, that splurge may be well worth it.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful about that. And that's balancing that practicality with these pieces that are going to really help you to feel better. They're going to help you to be happy. One of the things that is really important about well-being and luxury is this idea of inspiration, this idea of surprise. We all want to feel inspired. We all want to feel elevated. We want to be curious. Curiosity is really something that's important for your self-esteem. Curiosity is good for our well-being. We want to be curious. It forces your mind to look at things in a unique and different way, and then it inspires us. And that inspiration will fuel us as human beings. And so that's what luxury brings. And that's why we don't want to sort of shy away from the idea of luxury. We want to consider luxury in all the aspects of what it can do to change your life. Truly.
Yeah. I think in some ways, luxury really can be the highest form of design, when you talk about that, because it really does create that overwhelming foundation of the caring and the inspiring, like you're talking about. It really has all these components that really this elevated version of design.
Yes. And that is why we used luxury, the principle of luxury, as our first principle to share with everybody today, because luxury is important. It's always something that we've stood by. We understand that luxury is about unique experiences, unique pieces, unique environments. And so this is something that I think is paramount to well-being and wellness. And by the way, I'm going to reiterate that wellness design is not just for wellness spaces. That's the whole philosophy behind what we're talking about, is that wellness design is for every space that we live and work in. And that is why it's so important. Get back to the resonant framework, study the resonant framework in the projects that you're going to be working on, invest in that framework, and then seriously consider the principles that we're talking about here, starting with luxury as a key principle for wellness design and well-being. listeners, there is another aspect to luxury too. We talked about it being this higher level or even the highest level, but there are ways to accomplish luxury that aren't as elevated looking as one might think, right? Let's talk about the latest trend, quiet luxury or slow luxury, Valerie, that we're seeing in the spaces that we're designing.
Yeah, I think there's really this big movement of this idea of quiet luxury, this understated, this refinement, just really this kind of interior where you really just feel comfortable, you feel at ease, but it's of good quality. It doesn't have to shout at the top of its lungs like, hey, look at me, it's just an amazing space that just exudes it. It doesn't have to say, hey, I'm luxury, So I think this trend is like such a big thing. I think it's going to gain even more traction, in the upcoming year, just as people really reflect and, really even take on this idea of, really what a wellness interior should feel like.
Exactly. I think that's an excellent example of quiet luxury and why that's important today, because we are looking at some of the same elements here in terms of luxury, right? Quiet, though, sort of leans towards less is more, and it incorporates organic elements. So we see a lot of the olive trees and more of the wood tones and just these organic elements. Indirect lighting plays such a big role in quiet luxury. So by the way, it's quiet luxury. Again, luxury has a price tag, even though it's quiet. Yeah. Quiet luxury still leans towards unique, different, exclusive. It's about less is more, a little more minimalism, and a lot more about unique experiences and a unique look and feel.
I love that. I think just kind of along the same topic, people have also been talking about the idea of what slow luxury is. And to me, I think that's really about kind of lingering a little bit more, savoring your decisions and your choices, and not like rushing into things, that you're taking your time to find what your version of luxury really means. But what do you think?
I do. I agree. I think slow luxury really has a close connotation to wellness.
Yeah.
Slow luxury is about self-care. Slow luxury is about your well-being and about taking care of yourself. And so when we talk about wellness and we even think about spa-like environments, this is where slow luxury really comes into play. And I think where you can take your inspiration from too is sort of looking to the spa movement and creating an environment that helps you to slow down, helps you to smell the roses, helps you to enjoy life at a pace where there's no stress, there's no chaos. And so that is, I think, a very good form of luxury that we're absolutely seeing in the spaces that we're creating today. Listeners, how do you define luxury? What are you doing today in your home and your businesses to create that feeling of luxury? And if you're not, I challenge you to rethink the idea of luxury as it relates to any space, no matter what your style is. I hope this inspired you to think about luxury in a unique and different way and how that can elevate your space and really transform your life.